Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. Real Estate Coaching Radio is the nation's #1 daily radio show for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Get ready for fluff-free, unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what's truly working to get you into action, helping others, and making money now in today's real estate market. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we're back. Julie, welcome back to the podcast. I know you took the day off because you'd overscheduled yourself with Zooms.
Indeed. And happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. And we still don't know who the president is.
I know. Well, might as well drag that out too.
Yeah, I know. Well, just a mental note, we don't know who the president is, and things seem to be working out just fine in the world.
Yeah, seems to be all right.
Yeah. So we were talking yesterday, and Julie, this was something that I got started for us. We were talking about, in essence, how to have next year be your best year ever. And I was going through a list of all the points of, just the things that were really on top of my mind after a long couple of weeks of coaching calls where people were expressing their excitement and certainty about what was going to happen next year. So the podcast today is New Year, New You, right? 12-step plan, how to 100x what matters most to you in your life. And that is really what today's show, and probably maybe we'll talk a little bit about this on Sunday and on Monday as well. So it's really important to remember that the more, and yesterday we talked about this, and I won't go back and review all these points, but yesterday the first point is do a complete mental and emotional cleanse. And I gave you guys 5 or 6 very drilled down points, things you should take into consideration when asking yourself are you having your best year ever? Okay, how do you continue that? Are you not having a great year? Do you feel like you're struggling too much? Do you feel like the winds are no longer at your back? Well, you might want to review those 6 points from yesterday, because it really does start with essentially doing a mental and emotional cleanse. Now, the second point that I wrote down, and this is Julie's favorite topic, or one of her favorite topics, because it's an obvious, easy thing to fix, but it's such a problem if you leave this as a unfixed problem, frankly. And so point number 2 was do a complete cleanse of your physical environment.
Yes, if you don't consciously see the clutter and disorganization, your subconscious mind does. So maybe this is the year to upgrade everything. We'll talk about this as maybe 2 different points. Let's talk about the cleanse first, right? So what makes up your physical environment? You've got your house, you got your car, you've got your office, home office, Zoom room, whatever you want to call this, okay? So you've got several different areas to look at.
This goes back to the overriding point that in life there's not really very many things you can control. What can you truly control? You can control your environment, you can control your health, you can control your finances. Is there really anything beyond those 3 things that you can really truly control? Not really. Those are the 3 things that with your effort will equal your results. And so your environment, we always start, well, you guys heard the old, your grandma told you to make your bed in the morning, right? And the reason is because that is an effort or a shot at making it so that at least the environment that's immediately around you is orderly. And when your subconscious mind is, surrounded by order and cleanliness, it's going to allow you to feel less stressed. It's going to allow you to feel, in a way, a lot freer to think new thoughts and to basically be more courageous as you start setting expectations for yourself for the new year.
Yes, that's exactly right. So, we have a lot of fun with this in Premier Coaching, Tim, where we have before and after pictures of. My favorite ones are always, of course, the home office, followed closely by the car situation. Because
you got to do more specific, right? We have coaching clients send us pictures of their offices, and sometimes it's a competition for, really, frankly, whose office is the worst. That's really what it always comes down to.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't actually have to keep your files from 1983. Okay. I know everybody tries to convince you've got to keep everything all the time, and I would say most people that are maybe 40 and older are worse on the paper collection, but the goat trails through your office and the avalanches of files, that's got to go. And usually the catalyst for this is something we teach in coaching, which is the visual accountability and whiteboards. You got to have some place to put those. Many of you are operating off of 2 computer screens. You've had to have more going on in your home office during quarantine, et cetera. So do yourself a favor, and before it's January, right now, do your own before and after pictures. I should probably do a challenge. I know I'm going to do one in Premiere.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a great time to do it because this really is the ramp up into next year, and how you go about this quarter It's almost like next year has 5 quarters and this is your runway.
That's right. That's a good way of thinking of it. So in our book, Harris Rules, and of course in our coaching, we give you an exact layout of exactly how your office should work. And we are big into visualization. Most salespeople are visual people. And so most people in general are. So we want you to have dry erase boards. We want you to organize your office so that there's virtually nothing in it. And it is a sort of a purified working space. And when you walk in the office, ideally there's a stand-up desk. Like Julie and I are literally standing at my stand-up desk right now as we're doing the podcast. And in our office, we don't sell real estate, but other than the acoustical panels all over our little podcasting studio here, guess what? We also have dry erase boards. We keep ourselves organized professionally in our coaching business, even though we have thousands of students and this is a large business. We do it from a top level. Our KPIs, our key performance indicators, yeah, of course we have those, and those are coming off computer monitors. But the things that matter most to us every single day, when we're actually keeping track of the most important numbers, we always do that with dry erase boards, because you don't have to basically look for the information. It's there staring at you. And there's nothing more powerful. Like, I'll give you guys a quick coaching story. I had a coaching client that came to us, I don't even know when, it was ages ago. And she had a very successful business. She was selling something like 50 or 75 houses per year, and she'd be doing it year in, year out like clockwork. Just really, that's a great business. But the problem is that she wanted to sell more, and she wanted to sell more for the right reasons, not so she could win awards and simply say, I sold more, but because she actually wanted to earn more money so that she could essentially, do more with life, all the good things that come from having more money, right? I shouldn't have to explain any of that to you guys. So she wanted to sell an additional 25 houses per year. And now I do remember the number. She'd been very consistent at 75. So one of the first things I did in a coaching session with her is, after she sent me some pictures of her office, and it was, as Julie described, goat paths everywhere, old awards, piles of crap, just things that her conscious mind didn't even see anymore. Books that she probably never even read. Something like 95% of all books never even get opened after you buy them. You just buy them and make yourself feel good,
Yeah, the fire marshal would have been very upset with her.
Exactly. Well, I mean, working in this environment was horrible. So obviously it was dumpster time, and she cleaned out her office. And then what I had her do is put some dry erase boards on the wall. This is where this concept originally came from that we write about it in the book. And then on the dry erase board, I had her write a word, and the word is listings at the top of one of the dry erase boards. Then I had her write out 1 through 75. Or no, I had her on the listings board, I had her write out 1 through 25. So, and I'll explain that in a second. And then on the closings board, that's where we wrote out 1 through 100. And so on the closings board, it was 1 through 100. On the listings, it was 1 through 25. May not have been 25, but you guys get the concept here. So the idea was, when she walked into her office, the dry erase boards were immediately, no matter how great of a day she thinks she had, the reality of the fact that according to her real estate treasure map and her business plan, that she was supposed to have 25 listings at all times. If she only had 12 or 2 or 10 or 24, her dry erase board was there to remind her that she's not working to her plan. And then on the listing side or on the closings board, same thing. And what we'd do is we'd basically, after every month passed, we would take a real hard look at where the business came from. She kept track along the way, but I'm kind of meandering into a different topic now. But the reality of it was, the dry erase boards on the closing side of it, she had the address of the property she sold, she had the source of the original source of the business, and the amount of commission that she made. And we were paying attention to that because we wanted to increase her net. Maybe remember that was her original, that was one of her original goals. And so by doing that, we were having daily, monthly accountability. And guess what? She exceeded her expectations. But just the visualization of when she walked into her office, and when she saw the fact that she was supposed to have 25 listings at all times or whatever it was, and she saw that she was short of that immediately told her she needed to get back to work. Whereas if it had been buried in a computer someplace, or let alone a business plan that she never looks at, then it would have had no power. That is the power of visualization. Now, as far as knowing what your magic number of listings to have at all times, we've made that simple for you. It's called the Real Estate Treasure Map. All you've got to do is fill it out, and this is the perfect time of year to do it. So here's what I want you to do immediately. Text the word survival to 31996. Text the word survival to 31996. And when you do, we're going to text you back a link. With that link, you have to say, yes, you want the access to the free coaching program. And then you're going to have access to the free coaching program. You activate your membership. And this whole thing takes like maybe, 15 seconds. And then you have free access to at least, it's like 7 or 8 different books and guides, along with the free daily semi-private coaching call. on the in the product, in the actual coaching program that you're going to log into, the real estate treasure map is what you need to complete right away. It is a fill-in-the-blank, long-form, drilled-down business personal life plan. And this is something that if you've never done something that's comprehensive like what this is, at the end of it, you're going to feel a little exhausted and a lot relieved. That really is how you'll feel, because you'll, for the first time probably ever in your life, have a very clear, succinct plan of what you need to be doing every single day to move yourself towards the goal. And remember, guys, if you want ever increasing levels of success, you have to learn to do what you don't want to do, and you don't want to do it at the highest level every single day consistently. So you got to start with actually creating a real, honest to God business and life plan. So text the word survival to 31996. Does this make sense, Julie?
It does. And the real estate treasure map is temporarily stressful for some because they have to be introspective. They have to do their real finances. They have to do their real goals. But at the end of the treasure map, everyone has the same reaction. Oh, now I understand.
They feel relieved.
They feel relieved.
In
because
control.
It's exactly where I'm headed. Yes, it gives you control, because how many of you right now are out in the real estate wilds feeling like everything's out of control all the time and you don't know what direction to go?
Isn't that how basically in yesterday's point was a real drill down on going media free in essence? Isn't that the essence of what media wants you to feel? Isn't that the essence of basically how it seems like everything literally wants you to feel fearful and out of control? Because it does. Because if you feel fearful and out of control, then you're never going to be independent. You're always going to be dependent, which means you're never going to basically, frankly, you're never going to be rich.
No, you can be told what to do, what to buy, It's all over the place. So
Right.
this is a great way to get back in control.
Yeah, and Julie and I are doing a series of articles on, for example, if you're feeling out of control and if you're feeling hapless and hopeless, you're going to be more inclined to not pay so much attention to what you're paying in taxes, for example. Mm-hmm. And I've been reading, and Julie and I predicted this probably back in March, April, May, that as all these cities and states had these massive shortfalls of taxes, that they were going to be very, draconian in going about raising money. And of course, they were going to go after property taxes. And of course they are. Now, I've been finding some articles, one in particular that's coming out of New Jersey, New York, that the city officials there, if you want to call them that, they're now making it so that even if you're a remote worker, no longer a resident of New York, you work in God knows where, Pennsylvania or wherever, but you're working for a company remotely in Manhattan, that if I read this article right, and I sent it to Julie to go through it, because I think I did, I read 2 articles like this, I couldn't believe it. They're going to try to make it so that you have to pay taxes in that state, even if you're a remote worker for that company and don't live there anymore. That is insanity. I mean, think about if they actually make that happen, what that's going to cause people to do, how they're going to, well, I'll tell you what they'll do. They'll basically all incorporate, the companies will have to hire them as independent contractors, and they'll hire the company and not the individual. I mean, there's always going to be workarounds, but what they're really going to do is run people out. People that otherwise would have stayed in those particular areas forever are just going to have enough because they're not going to be able to afford to live there anymore. So really, when you're unconscious and because you're so full of fear and you're looking for something external to protect you, you're going to be susceptible to basically giving up your liberty. You're going to be susceptible to giving up your freedom. This is not a political message. This is a message, like all of our messages are, about helping you guys to help others and make money. At the end of all your toils, at the end of all your days, if you haven't basically been able to accumulate, hopefully it doesn't take you that long if you follow our plans, enough money so that you're rich, where your money works for you, you no longer work for your money, because you unconsciously gave up all that money, where you consciously could have made a different decision had you been more confident in your ability to essentially determine your own destiny, opposed to being so reliant on third parties, which, by the way, is a nice spin to talk about lead generation, proactive versus passive. But guys, that's what being a true entrepreneur is all about. It's about setting your own course and then having a plan to get you there. So actually that tees us up for the next point absolutely perfectly. So last point was do a cleanse of your physical environment. Point number 3, create a true business and life plan. I don't think we can talk any more about that than we already did.
Yep.
So here are the 4 points. Real estate treasure map. Just text the word survival to 31996. And obviously within the treasure map, you're going to learn your real estate magic number. That's the number of listings you need at all times to meet or exceed your financial expectations and responsibilities. Work on doing more than, this is a good point, work on doing no more than 3 to 5 things every day at the highest level. And I want to vamp a little bit on that last point, Julie, because that's a very fascinating one.
Yep.
So this is all under point 3. So work on doing no more than 3 to 5 things at the highest level every day. And I'll tell you what those 3 to 5 things are. Sometimes Julie and I don't agree on point number 3, but I think we're on the same page, right? Lead follow-up versus pre-qualifying, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, you can't pre-qualify if you didn't do the follow-up on the lead. We're just saying the same thing, different words. Yeah.
I know, but it's fun when we can find things we don't always agree about.
Yeah.
So the first one is proactive lead generation. Then it's pre-qualifying, or as Julie says, it's part of pre-qualifying. Obviously, is doing your furiously fast lead follow-up. Mm-hmm. And then the third point is presenting. If you just do those 3 things really well, and you suck at everything else in real estate, you'll just be right as rain. Because if you're, and this is how most of our top coaching clients, this is what they evolve into, because it creates the most leverage and the most profit. If you learn to proactively lead generate, and you get to the point where you're consistently setting 5 listing appointments a week, right? 1 a day, that should be your minimum standard. When you go to work, if you pretend you're a coal miner, you have to go down in the coal mine with your hat with the light on it, and your pick and your axe canary. And your canary and your bucket and your whatever. You're going down the coal mine. You can't come up until you filled up that bucket of coal, right? With coal or gold or whatever. You should switch it to gold mine actually.
Gold mining is a lot better.
Yeah, it's and you don't need a canary.
It's less icky.
Yeah, I wonder if they took canaries down gold mines. What do you think?
I'd imagine it's the same situation, different thing you're pulling out.
Yeah, but those little birds, they probably stole gold though, wouldn't they?
I don't know.
Shiny thing. Put it in your beak.
This is a good Sunday trail to
Yeah,
follow.
exactly. Yeah, but anyway, so you guys get the concept here.
But your point in using the miner analogy, okay, is that was every day, daily consistency with a specific goal, whether that's your pail of gold or pail of coal. You can't come up until you've done your job, right? It's all how you think about it, and we do play a lot of mindset games with our premier coaching clients with this. First, you got to get the skills. So you got to be really, using real proven scripts. Then you got to have the discipline to make yourself do it. But you also, once you're at that point and you've kind of memorized, internalized, and, made it your own kind of script, that's when the fun really begins, right? Because then we play the game of, okay, so you've got, let's say, 2 hours set aside to be on the phone every morning. How quickly can you set a pre-qualified, motivated appointment? There's nothing saying you have to make 200 contacts.
No.
It might be number 3.
Well, let's talk about that. So when Julie and I would prospect together, because we got to the point where, God, guys, prospecting every day, God with the lowercase g, is really, really boring. It is boring. It is just onerous. It's egregious.
Doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. Hey, and you'll never want to do it. Don't kid yourself.
No, we never wanted to do it.
But you have to do it at the highest level.
We had to get our bucket of coal every day.
Yep.
So one of the games that Julie and I would play is who can set a pre-qualified listing appointment the fastest. And she would go to her, corner of the house, and I'd go to mine, and we would start prospecting. And we wouldn't worry about who's calling what and who, whatever. I mean, generally speaking, we like to work expireds. Expireds, in our opinion, FSBOs and expireds both have those are the easiest, lowest hanging fruit on the tree. There's obviously a lot of, 20 different sources of proactive listing leads we teach you in the coaching program to go after. But expireds and FSBOs are the easiest ones to go after, because once you learn the skill set and you are able to be effective at setting and taking listings from those 2 sources, frankly, the rest of the stuff we teach you is so easy.
And those 2 scripts are very similar. So once you learn one, you've pretty much learned the other one.
Yeah, but we preferred expireds because there are always expireds in every market. You go the old expireds. But what do you know about an expired? That they, generally speaking, you know what the price isn't because it expired. And
easy CMA. I used to love that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that they're willing to pay a commission. And the third reason was because if they were a little bit, maybe for the first agent, not necessarily as easy to work with, the market has now beaten them down to the point by rejecting their house at the previous price and condition and location. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be much more manageable when it comes to actually getting the house sold. But, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what you want to pursue. But we would compete every single day for who would set the first pre-qualified listing appointment. And Julie made a really good point. The goal is not the contacts. The number of contacts having, and I see agents make this mistake. I made so many contacts. Well, who cares?
What?
Yeah, exactly. That sounds awful, honestly.
It does. You're focused on the wrong thing.
Right.
And I know that there are people, not us, that teach, you have to make X number of contacts. It is true that you have to make some contact. This is a contact sport. You can't be a realtor hermit and expect to have your magic number. That's true. But if you get focused on contactitis, the number of contacts, and you celebrate, I talk to, whatever your number of people is, but you didn't actually set any qualified appointments, it actually is diminishing returns, because you start thinking either something's wrong with you, something's wrong with the script, something's wrong with the market, expireds don't work. It takes about a week of that before you go down the wrong rabbit hole.
It's the same reason that when asked, should I make cold calls? No. Why would you make calls to people that aren't in the market to sell their house? Or should I knock on cold doors? No. Why would you knock on the doors of people that don't have their hands in the air when you're basically crossing the street to knock on a cold door?
This is a good point. Some people think that FSBOs and expireds are cold.
And not right. FSBO and expired and the other sources of business we teach you are not cold. Those are people that are hot, obviously. They have their hands in the air saying they want to sell their house. So if you have, there's no... The point being, really, the big overriding point that we're both trying to make in our own slightly deviating ways is there's no glory in contacts. No. Your goal is to set the appointment. And if you can make an arrangement with yourself, a deal with yourself, if you will, that you don't have to make another stinking contact or another stinking call, provided you set one pre-qualified listing appointment. Now, don't cheat on what a pre-qualified listing appointment is. And here's what you'll do. And this is what happens all the time. If that's the arrangement, the mental agreement you have with yourself, you will be so effective on those initial contacts that you will be so much, I got to get through 200 contacts today or my 50 contacts today.
You're just doing your time.
You're going down to the coal mine. That's true. But you're not swinging your axe. Yep. You're not certainly doing the work. And that's remember guys, it's doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. So you're doing what you don't want to do, and you're doing it when you don't want to do it, which is, for most people when it comes to prospecting, is pretty much any time. And that's called normal. Do it anyway. But you're not doing it at the highest level. You see how our philosophies all are congruent. And because it's honed after having done approximately 14 trillion coaching calls and trying to get everyone's minds to work in the same, the realization that this business, life in general, is very simple. You can make money and be successful in life if you just basically purge your mind of any shortcuts and you're just willing to suck it up and do what you don't want to do in life. When you are willing to actually pay the price for your success, then there's no level of it's limitless what you can accomplish in your life. But you have to be willing to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. Now I'm going to share with you guys another little interesting philosophy. So I'm going to ask, I'm asking all, thousands of you, tens of thousands of you potentially. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think it's a good idea, and this is all part of point number 3, right? And the point number 3 was create a true business and life 12-month plan. So the point number 4 that we wrote down is, do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea to share your goals? Julie, let's play it both sides.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's say I did the treasure map. I've hashed out my goals. I'm really proud of it. I've really, polished them up, and I've got maybe at least one really great goal in all the 5 areas of life the treasure map talks about. I want to tell the world, right? I mean, I want to share that with my best friend.
Let's not focus on family or spiritual, or let's just focus on
I'm just saying, let's say I've got 5 goals, right? Whatever they may be. And I'm really serious about this. I'm going to mostly it's a financial goal, of course, for most people. All right. So why wouldn't I just share that with everyone and assume that they're going to be behind me and support me and, really be part of the team?
Yeah. So
that's what most people think they're supposed to do.
Right. Aren't we all taught that we're supposed to tell everyone about our goals? Aren't there, social networking apps where you're supposed to brag about what your goals are? Isn't that just something that's sort of been institutionalized as a result of the mindset movement, your dream boards, and share it with everybody and all the rest of it? Well, here's an interesting fact that the people that accomplish their goals almost always are the people that don't share what their goals are with other people. Because and here's the reason why, is if you decide that you're going to lose 20 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever your goal is, financial goal, whatever, and you share that goal with other people, they're going to give you the award recognition for having accomplished the goal just for having said it. And so psychologically, you're going to start getting the payoff for having accomplished the goal even before you've commenced it, other than stating that's what your goal is. And so what, modern, essentially psychological studies on high achievers in any walk of life, in any profession, sports and whatnot, what they've determined was those people do not share what their goals are with other people. They just keep them to themselves. They might share them with their spouse or, very, very, maybe 1 or 2 people. But for the most part, they're not broadcasting it, because just think about it. Think about what I just said. If you set the goal that you're going to lose, 10 pounds in the next 90 days, good luck over the holidays. Let's say that's what your goal is. And you tell a whole bunch of people, they're going to be very, very, for the most part, they're going to say, congratulations, that's fantastic. And you immediately start to feel what you should have reserved as the emotion of essentially accomplishing the goal for after you had done it. But because you're getting that same feeling of adulation now and recognition now, you're not going to accomplish the goal. The emotion that you wanted, you got. You shortcutted basically the work. You didn't actually do the work, but you still got the benefit in terms of recognition from other people. I know it sounds convoluted, but when you think about it, it also is right. So another simple fact is don't share your goals. I have to sneeze.
Bless you. Oh, cover the microphone. Yes.
I did.
Yeah, don't share your goals. It just opens up what Tim said, pre-celebratory. And the ones that don't do that with you will be secretly resentful or critical of you,
right,
or comparing themselves to you. You know, what if they can't or won't do the same goal as you? You just open up a whole can of worms that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah, you basically, if you're like 20 pounds overweight, you say your goal is to lose 20 pounds the next 90 days. All your friends who are 30 pounds overweight are going to tell you they look forward to being, as slim as you are, as basically as less fat than they are.
Or they'll say, oh, you don't need to do that. You look great.
Exactly.
And then they want your goal.
You guys see how this works? Isn't that sort of fascinating?
Kind of destructive.
It is destructive. So when you have goals, which you should have goals, complete your real estate treasure map, text the word survival to 31996, write them down. And remember, in the treasure map, it's a goal is a dream with an action plan. We're going to teach you not just to write down the goal, but then how to create the action plan. And that's incredibly important. Just writing down a bunch of arbitrary, goals gets you nothing, nowhere, in no time. You have to, and don't have too many goals, because then you won't, in short-term goals, 12-month goals, because otherwise it'll just be overwhelming. And the goals that you should be focused on are the ones we discussed in the treasure map. Make sure you don't essentially become lazy when you're writing it down. If your goal is to, buy a new Ferrari next year, you need to create the action plan and how you're going to do it. It's not just save the money. It's not just the easy stuff. You have to drill it down even further. When you're doing the treasure map, you're going to complete your the real estate magic number, and that's then going to help you determine how many listings you need at all times to meet or exceed your financial goals. That's financial goals and obligations. That's when you're going backwards and you're figuring out exactly how much money you have to earn every year to, again, have this dream life for yourself. And you can do it. You absolutely can. But it starts with you actually writing all your plans down, writing the goals down. What are you thinking as I say that?
Well, I was thinking that one of the big points that the treasure map makes is that when you got your real estate license, your goal was not to just get by. I mean, I really don't think anybody, maybe to replace their job, I give you that. But it wasn't to just pay the bills. So when we're talking about financial goal setting, we're not talking about that's where you start, of course. The interesting thing is that most agents will earn that. If they've survived their first 12 to 18 months, they have now figured out how to cover their basic personal overhead. Just.
Right.
And that's why they get, quote, stuck at whatever that number of deals is.
Right.
And that's also why they start to believe, well, it always works out. I always get that deal at the last minute, or maybe I'll sell my own listing. It always just works out. Well, that's not the plan that we're talking about. In the treasure map, yes, you figure that out. What is your real goal? Financially, that's goal number one. But then you have to do all of your other goals, the ones that will actually move the needle in life for you. And the interesting thing is that number is almost always exactly 3 times what it takes to keep the lights on. So if you had to do a deal a month, you have to do 3 deals a month, which means your magic number is probably 5 or 6 listings at all times, spinning off that kind of business, right? So one of the things in the treasure map is how do you cross that bridge by making your goals that move the needle as important to you as paying your house payment or your cell phone bill. And it's a very specific thing. I won't go too deeply into it, but it's interesting for them to think of as they do the treasure map. The reason that you have figured it out, again, assuming you've survived this long, is because something bad immediately happens, right? You don't pay Verizon or whoever your cell phone bill is. How long do they wait before they shut you down?
Oh, I see where you're going.
Okay, that's called external accountability.
Right.
Somebody is going to mess with you if you don't do that. If you don't put gas in your car, eventually you're going to be stuck on the side of the road, right? It's quick retribution for screwing up, right? Or for not earning what it took. You don't go to the grocery store, your kids starve. It's very simple to have external accountability. So internal accountability is, I want to save 6 months of reserves. Okay, great. Why haven't you done it? Because it's coming from within, and you would think that would be powerful enough. But if that was true, everybody would have all their financial
So
goals
what
all
you're
the time.
saying,
That's the bridge you have to cross.
right? So where people go wrong is they don't move past their ability to earn to take care of their immediate needs. And the reason that they do earn for those immediate needs is because if they don't earn that money, they're going to lose what they already have.
Exactly. Smack, swift retribution, whatever. Choose your bill, right?
Right.
You don't pay your water bill. You can't go that long with that, right? So the bridge you have to cross after you do the work of figuring out the goals which will move the needle for you and your family, whatever those things are, figuring out how much more you've got to earn to do that, which is probably 3 times the first number. You have to believe so hard in those things. You have to emotionally, mentally, physically, financially believe in that at the same level you do paying your cell phone bill and putting groceries on the table. It has to be that important. You've got to kind of create that external accountability for internal goals.
Well, so notice when Julie's talking and when I'm talking and you listen to our podcast and you read our book and you're one of our coaching members, we don't spend a lot of time talking about, stuff that's going to require long, angstful, mindset, motivated, we're not talking
work on this and work on that.
There's no woo-woo in what we talk about. Okay. We're giving you guys very practical, tactical things to actually do. We're telling you the exact drill down. We're removing all the sort of intentionally opaque, mystical Mickey Mouse that's out there when it comes to basically goal setting. And to Julie's point, think about what she just said. Do you not resonate with that immediately because you see how truthful it is what she said? Well, this is the reason that we always take it back and talk about numbers too. So when you start, you get past that immediate survival thing that she's describing, a lot of you guys level off after you've got 30 or 60 days worth of income security. Yep. And then you never move past that. You never save. You never really do anything, beyond just immediate needs with your life. And then you come across us, you read our book, you get involved in coaching, you start thinking bigger. And then what? That's the reason we want you drawing it back to numbers. Because if your real estate magic number means you have to have 5 listings at all times to meet or exceed your urgent, immediate financial goals, but if you decide you then want to have a new house or a new boat, maybe you need to have 7 listings at all times. And that's how we go about doing it. And that's our approach to actually, all of our coaching and all of our methodology. So listen, guys. Stay tuned, stay focused. If you need us for anything, let us know. And guys, listen, also, if you want to talk to me about joining our EXP family, we are always looking to add folks to our group. EXP is, without a doubt, the best way forward when choosing a broker into 2021 and beyond. All you've got to do is text me directly at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. In the meantime, you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows. And until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.